Well, if you were looking for your next page turner and you happen to love a protagonist with a sharp tongue and zero patience for nonsense, we have the perfect summer read for you. It's called Poppy Montgomery Gets Even. Love that title. And it introduces us to an unforgettable 80-year-old force of nature who proves that you're never too old to start solving crimes or to start getting a little revenge. Joining us today to talk about this delightfully wicked new caper is the author himself, Gordon Jack. Gordon, welcome to the Fox Local Book Club.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so nice to talk to you.
So let's start with Poppy. She isn't your average sweet grandma baking cookies or picking up the grandkids, right? She's complaining about her water aerobics class and she's taking names. Tell us more about her and your inspiration for her.
Yeah, she isn't your stereotypical grandmother. You know, she's had a hard life. She's, failed marriages, a daughter who's in recovery, a grandson who's living in her basement, so she doesn't have a whole lot to be happy about, and she doesn't put up that sort of happy front that people maybe expect from women in their 80s. She's just not interested in that. So she's more of a curmudgeon, I would say. And I was interested, in exploring that because you don't really see that many female curmudgeons in popular culture, I don't think. And when I just started writing this, the first line of the book, which is, first day of water aerobics, and I have to ask myself, am I in hell, just came out, and I just sort of followed that lead, where it took me. So
yeah, that's a great first line. So the catalyst is something very modern, though. Her friend, Poppy's friend, Ginny, gets targeted by a scammer on a senior dating site. And instead of just calling the police or whatever she might do, she decides to take matters into her own hands. So tell us about this retaliation plot.
Yeah. So, Poppy has had a lot of experience with bullies in her life. She was raised by a bully. Her ex-husbands are bullies. Her bosses are bullies. So she thinks she knows how to spot them and to deal with them. And even when, one appears online. So when her friend Ginny is, starts to connect with a man on the Senior Moments dating site, she smells a bully and she thinks, okay, I'm going to try to figure out if this guy's, on the up and up. And what ends up happening is she sees this sort of scam operation happening, and then with her grandson, who, while he's been living in her basement, has developed some pretty tech-savvy hacking skills, she starts to scam the scammers. And, the hacking helps her kind of get away with that, but I think the real thing that tricks people is they don't expect an 80-year-old woman to be a cyber criminal. So that allows her to kind of fool these people for a while until she sort of fools the wrong person and then gets into deeper trouble.
Well, on that note, fans of the Thursday Murder Club are kind of drawing comparisons because of, your ensemble cast, and you have all different ages too. Was it important to you to have that intergenerational dynamic, like, the grandson and the hacker in the basement?
Yeah. No, thank you so much for mentioning Thursday Murder Club. That was definitely an inspiration. And I think because what I love what he does in those books is show that you can have a mystery, but you can also have humor, and you can also have like an intergenerational relationship story. So you're following those relationships as much as you're trying to figure out kind of who done it. So that was definitely an inspiration with me. The hacking and the scamming and the mystery is what keeps you turning the page. But I hope the real story is sort of how Poppy goes from being a kind of, isolated, misanthropic person to someone who really has kind of like found her family at the end. And and I think I wanted to explore, I hear a lot about the sort of problem with, loneliness and social isolation. And the two groups I hear that happening with the most are young men and older people. And so I just thought it would be interesting to put, those two people in the same house together and show how they're isolated each other until they find something, that gets them together. And that just happens to be kind of a heist.
Gordon, we got to go. We've run out of time, but we certainly enjoyed having you here on the Fox Local Book Club. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.